is the moment I've been waiting for the past year. Y'all, look at the queen. So
offended her. Leeds, it's been proven that people who read live longer. Are you trying to die young? Really? Because I swear, reading Coho is taking years off of my life.
Romance book between the main guy and his stepsister. This book is perfect for fans of Life with Derek, that creepy incest Folgers commercial, and also Brandon and Callie from The Fosters. If you know, you know. I fundamentally do not understand how this has 900,000 plus ratings on Goodreads and over 4 stars. That is mind-blowing to me, which I feel like is going to be a trend throughout this entire video.
So, in a recent video I reviewed Colleen Hoover's book Verity and nearly had a small breakdown. And my notes here literally just are the word vomit. Jeremy's all like, babe, you're just paranoid, shh, like really gaslighting her, full on gaslighting. And his solution to make Lauren feel better is to put a lock on Verity's door, so even if she is conscious and able to walk, she won't be able to escape to catch them cheating. Why is this man's solution to every single problem, better put a lock on a woman's door, better lock her in a room? For God's sake.
Hello. I'm back, and if you're like, why is your audio quality better but your video quality is worse? Guys, we have to sacrifice something for another thing. I'm still working on trying to connect my camera to my phone, so I had to sacrifice it and just record on my computer webcam. Okay, so let's talk about Colleen Hoover. You guys have clicked on this video and you're ready to hear me talk about Miss Colleen. So let me just start out by saying this video was gonna be like a little read with me, and then the video's over, and then my computer was fucking doing stupid things, and then I deleted all the footage off my editing software. So then that means that I had to re-edit everything.
Dibs on the radio!
And then when I was like, I have to re-edit all this, it made me think like, okay, since I'm like basically now like re-editing the video, why don't I just refilm like this part of it and make the video a little bit more of substance, not just me reading Colleen Hoover. And I know you're gonna be like, that's shady to the people who just read Colleen Hoover in their videos and then they move on. No, I mean like I just want to be different. I just want to talk about Miss Hoover herself. So you're probably asking yourself, who is Miss Colleen and how did I get introduced to her? So Colleen Hoover is an American author who primarily writes novels in the romance and young adult fiction genres. She is best known for her 2016 romance novel It Ends With Us. Many of her works were self-published before being picked up by a publishing house. She's 43 years old, and yeah, she's from Sulphur Springs, Texas. So she's from the South. Yes, the Americans are cringing at my southern accent right now. So how did I get introduced to Miss Colleen, and how did I even know of her existence? So I'm just gonna tell you a bit story, and I went to go find proofs to make sure that this is actually correct and the timelines were matching up. Sorry, there was lip gloss on my mic. So let's take it back to 2022 May. This was around the time. So me and my friend at the time, we were at school, and she just brings up, we somehow get on the topic of books, and she's like, Oh my effing gosh, you have to go read this book by Colleen Hoover. And she was like, my screen time went up. It's so good. It's so good. And I was like, okay. And that book happened to be It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, her best selling book or her most popular book. And here's a text conversation. I don't know if this is legal to show. The reason why I was like, oh my gosh, is it weird to show text messages? Is because we're no longer friends. But guys, she will never watch this video. She'll never watch this video. And it's not even like, I don't know, weird. I don't know, she'll never watch this video. Okay, so like this is the text conversation of evidence that this happened on some winter's day in May. Transitional winter. I'm from the southern hemisphere. It's winter in May, or it's autumn going to winter in May. So it was on some winter's time. You know, when you're not wearing slacks at school and long sleeve shirts, that's when you know, yeah, basically. And I just went and read Colleen Hoover, and I read It Ends With Us, and I was just like, this book is interesting. As you saw in the text, I was just talking to people about it, and I had not developed any critical reading skills from books that I read on my own because I wasn't much of a reader before that. Actually, we have to commend my friend at the time and Miss Colleen Hoover for getting me back into reading, or getting me into reading in general. That's a whole another story for a whole another day. And then that's how I was introduced to her. It Ends With Us is Miss Colleen Hoover's most famous novel. Like, it's the novel of novels of Colleen Hoover. Like, I feel like if you want to get to know Colleen Hoover, or you want to read Colleen Hoover, you should probably start with that one and then go to her other books. And if you're probably asking, what is It Ends With Us about? So I don't have to explain when I get to the other books. Sometimes it is the one who loves you the most who hurts you the most. Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for her life. She's come a long way from the small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started her own business. So when she feels a spark with a gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid, that sounds like a disease, everything in Lily's life suddenly seems almost too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, and maybe even a little bit arrogant. He's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily. And the way he looks, it scrubs certainly doesn't hurt. Lily can't get him out of her head, but Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. Even as Lily finds herself becoming the exception to his no dating rule, she can't help but wonder what made him that way in the first place. As questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corgan, her first love, and a link to the past she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Laurel is threatened.
Oh. Oh. Like, right? Oh.
This is the first time I'm ever reading this, and I don't think this is an appropriate summary of the book. I don't know, call me crazy, but this book is not a romance. It's very much about DV. That's what It Ends With Us is about, and that's what I read. And when I first read it, I was like, okay. And I never read Colleen Hoover again. And then by reading It Ends With Us, I was like, oh, let me read like more romance books. And I was introduced to Booktok. Now, Miss Colleen Hoover is a very hot or cold figure on Booktok. Booktok is what launched her stardom. Like, she is super famous in terms of like writing because of Booktok. Booktok is what like made her really famous. Not saying that she didn't have a fan base before Booktok. I'm just saying Booktok really just took her to like author stardom. So, Colleen Hoover is a very controversial figure on Booktok. There's a book side of Booktok where they love Colleen Hoover, and that's the side of Booktok that was there when in like May 2022.
People say you fall in love, but fall is such a sad word when you think about it. Falls are never good. You fall on the ground, you fall behind, you fall to your death. Whoever was the first person to say they fell in love must have already fallen out of it. Otherwise, they'd have called it something much better.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Like there was no hate in May 2022 when I first went into Booktok and was looking at romance books. Nobody was really hating on Colleen, and if they were, it was like so small that it didn't even come up on the search and like that's the popular videos of Colleen Hoover. Then as time progressed and more people started reading Colleen Hoover, they were like, wait, these are the books that you guys like? This is the author that everybody likes? And people were like, no, we can't allow this. So people were like, yeah, no. And a side of We Hate Colleen Hoover, Colleen Hoover Trash side grew on TikTok, and that's very much where the final mood for Colleen Hoover as an author on Booktok rests. It rests on the fact that Colleen Hoover sucks as a writer.
What's your favorite Pop-Tart? Obviously, it's the strawberry one, but there's... That's such a basic fucking bitch answer.
Okay, let's get this over with. 3 little kittens loved to play. They had fun in the sun all day. Then their mother came out and said, time for kittens to go to bed. Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
Keep reading.
Ugh. This is literature?
I don't know about... we'll get to my feelings about Colleen Hoover as a writer, which are coming up very soon, because we're just about to talk about her. The next segment is, shockingly, Colleen Hoover as a writer. So this is the part of the video that was not part of my original video, but I decided to put it in because I was like, I want to get to the nitty and gritty about what Miss Coho really thinks. Like, does she think that she's that girl when she's writing? Because this was after I'd read 3 books of hers, and I just wanted to know, like, who is Miss Colleen? So, I'm going to be talking about Miss Colleen as a writer and what she said and just her writing processes. And Miss Colleen Hoover has always stated, like in a lot of interviews that I watched, that she's always wanted to be a writer, and that she was, when her sister came home and like could like write the address of their house or something, she was jealous, and she like always wanted to tell stories, and she always wanted to be a writer ever since like she was little. Like she always wanted to learn how to write so that she could write stories. like she said that since the age of 4, that was her dream. She started writing her first self-published novel was in 2012, and it was a romance novel at the age of 31.
I'm constantly learning things about myself as a writer. You know, I kind of got into this career by accident. I was a social worker, wrote a book for fun, and put it online. I was self-published through Amazon, and within 3 or 4 months it hit the New York Times. So my whole life just kind of, you know, took this really unexpected turn. And
she says herself that before she published a romance novel, she was very much not a romance reader. Actually, she's like people around her were surprised that she writes in the romance genre, or she wrote in the romance genre at that time.
And what about what you like to read? Do you have a genre of your own that maybe is different from what you write about?
I actually had never read a romance novel before I wrote my first romance novel. I thought I didn't like them. I was one of those people, and I assumed wrong. I was really into like true crime and biographies, and when I sat down and started writing my first book was around the time I was reading like all the Charlene Harris, Sookie Stackhouse novels, and I really enjoyed them. You know, they were fun. It kind of was an escape from my chaotic life.
She even admits to herself that she's not very much a romantic. She says that she met her husband at 16, got married at 20, and they're not very much a romantic couple. They're not like lovey-dovey. Like, she even says in one of the interviews that when he bought her flowers one time, she was like, why'd you buy me flowers? Like, oh my gosh, like, we could have saved this money to do something else with it. So, like, she's not a romantic person. That's what she very much says.
So are none of the love stories based on your own relationship?
No, not at all. I met my husband when I was 16. We got married when I was 20. We've been together, I'm 42 now. That's a long time. I don't know how to math. He's wonderful, but like, we're not romantic. You would think that I write romance books, but I remember one time he bought me flowers and I got so mad at him. I was like, that was $50. We have bills to pay. Well, I didn't think I liked romance until I started writing it. My mom and my sisters, when I wrote Verity and they read Verity, they were all like, there you are. We don't know where the romance comes from. Like,
has always said that she wants to write. Why she started writing, or how she gets her inspiration for her books, is that she wants to write stories that she wants to read. So it's very much like, if you want to be the change, be the change you want to see in the world type beat of, if you want something to happen, or if you want to watch a show, if you want to read a book, why don't you go write like that? Go write that show, go read that book. Very much she was like that. And so she says that she puts a little bit of herself in her characters. She doesn't really get inspiration of her characters from other people. And the character she says that she relates the most with in this certain interview that I found, and it was like a 2022 interview because the book was released in 2022, is Kenna.
You're joking. You're joking.
Do you have a character that you relate to? You mentioned about this one, you wrote about your mom, that you relate to the most in terms of who you are and how you feel about things in life.
As an author, I think we put a little bit of ourselves into every character, whether we want to or not. I always try to avoid that. Like, I want my characters to be like individual people from me, but probably Kenna from Reminders of Him. Like, the love she has for this daughter is like, my kids are my number one. Of course, like everyone, put them before everything. And that book was just really tough to write, and seeing her in that situation, I feel like I would fight for my.
From Reminders of Him. I don't even know what that bitch's second name was. I don't even want to get into that. Those are one of the books that I read. So that's going to be very interesting that Miss Colleen Hoover finds herself very relatable to Kenna. And because in the book, Kenna is trying to build a relationship with her long lost daughter, and she thinks that that is very, you know, relatable to her. She takes about 6 months to a year to write a book, and I think when I'm saying some of these things, you're gonna be like, duh. Other people who like know about publishing, know about writing, are gonna be like, duh, bitch.
That I write my books in 16 hours. I don't know where he got that, but he was telling every single nurse. And my mom heard him at one point and she was like, "Why are you saying that? It takes her 6 months to a year." And he goes, "I swear it only takes her 16 hours." And I don't know what he.
So she takes 6 months to a year to write a book, and she just starts off with an idea. Like she says that most of her, she like will write so many ideas and so many like books, like let's say she'll get halfway through a book and she's like, I hate this, but then she'll like take something from the book and then she starts writing another book, and then maybe that book gets published. Author things, I don't really know anything about that. I'm not into the world of authors. She said that she self edits her books. Like she said that I'm not gonna say that she doesn't have an editor, because I don't know anything about that. Truly, I don't know anything about the book business. Like, if you're watching this from a book business dummy, but she says that she like writes she writes a chapter, and then she re-edits it, and then she goes on to the next. So she like edits the chapter herself. I don't know. As I said that before, she was not really a romance writer. The book that she relates most to or likes the most or is more towards her character is Verity, the book that was about the bitch that was stuck in the bed. And then I haven't read that book, but like I know what Verity is about. Yeah, and you will see a lot of people talking about Verity. Girl, I would recommend a video where a Clockwork reader who I really love, is a booktuber. She read like a lot of Colleen Hoover books, and I think one of them was Verity. So you can go and check that out to see what Verity is about more. This is a very interesting, like, I'm really glad that one of the people in this fucking video that I watched asked this question, because it's a very important question regarding Colleen Hoover that everybody always wants to know. Why does she write her male main characters like that, or how does she write her male main characters? What is the process?
This is from Jordan Simpson. He's from Cranston, Rhode Island, and his question is, I was wondering how difficult it was to write from a male perspective as a woman, and if you write the male leads to appeal to female readers.
I do find male characters more challenging than female characters, but I also feel like sometimes we take liberty as authors, especially in romance, and writing male characters more how we wish they would be than how they actually are.
Yes.
So I don't know how accurate they are, but at the same time, I don't know that I really want to write a truly accurate male character. Like my husband, he loves sports, and he's just a guy's guy, and I don't necessarily want to write about all of that in my book. So it is a challenge. It is, it's different. It's very different from the female perspectives that I write, but hopefully I pull them off okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she basically says that as like a romance writer, or like as women ourselves, when we write romance, we are writing our dream men, or like men that we very much like, duh. And in her interviews, she very much is a flawed character writer. She says that she loves playing devil's advocate. She loves rooting for like the character that maybe did something wrong, or maybe is not 100% perfect. She actually finds writing perfect characters to be boring, and I feel like, duh, like, sorry, I'm gonna just input my own opinion, but like I don't think any writer or any story that's ever been told that is interesting is about a character that is perfect. Every show, movie, whatever, the character has to have some type of flaw or have to have some type of thing that they have to overcome to make it interesting to the audience or the reader. So and she loves playing devil's advocate, like, which is very, very like bam in her books. Like you can get like she's always trying to empathize with the people who are like, this person's kind of shitty. Kenna from Romantic Swim, but yeah, she said that she loves that, and she says that she loves writing flawed characters. Like flawed characters are the most like her favorite thing to write, and she even has a flaws tattoo, like a tattoo written flaws. So
it would be boring because I like the flaws in people. I actually have the word flaws tattooed on my arm right here.
like she's very much loves to write like these characters that are like, I don't know about that. So yeah, that is Miss Hoover. That's Miss Hoover's writing process. That's who she is. Let's get into the books that I read. So now that we understand Miss Colleen Hoover a little bit more from what she said, and I'll put in the clips. I don't want people to say that one day you said this, you misquoted her. Oh, I don't want to misquote anybody. I decided that I was gonna read Colleen Hoover books, and I was gonna make this video like a very much Colleen Hoover is a bad writer. Has that opinion changed? No. But when I was watching interviews last night and like drawing up all these things about her as a person, I was like, Colleen Hoover is an actual human being. Like before I get into this and before you watch my harsh what is it called? Criticisms about her books, Colleen Hoover is a person. And I know you're like, duh. But like as when we talk about celebrities and when we talk about people's work and shows and movies and these people who we think are like Colleen Hoover is laughing all her away to the bank. Like I was really like, damn, this is just a normal woman from Texas who's just writing these romance books, and I was not seeing that. I was not having that humanness when I was doing my criticisms. That's why they were so mean. I still stand by what I said, and I still think what I said is valid, even though you just realize that, damn, this is a person. Like I was watching whose video was that? I don't know, but it is a really good Colleen Hoover video about this guy who like hated Colleen Hoover and had like a beef with Colleen Hoover for 4 years. Then he went back to just read Colleen Hoover, and he was like, yeah, Colleen Hoover is just a lady from Texas. She's 43 and she just writes romance books. And I'm here on the internet hating her. Like, it's really weird. So I just wanted to put that out before I get into my criticisms about the book. I do, or that just really just registered in my brain. And I didn't want to be very critical, but then I was like, bitch, sometimes you have to be fucking critical. Like sometimes, yeah, you might say some really mean things when it comes down to the writer or the person or whatever, or what their art, but everybody's work has been criticized, and actually criticism can help you become a better author. So let's get into the books I read. That was just a disclaimer.
Boring! Boring! Boring!
So let's go on to Goodreads, and somebody on like TikTok said that Goodreads looked like it looks like a page that looks like the website looks like it's straight out of 2008, like, but like in a bad way. And I was like, Exactly, like they need to like change their website up a little bit. Anyway, the first book I decided to read was It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, and this made the most sense to me because I had read It Ends With Us, and I was like, It Starts With Us is the sequel. Might as well just read it. And It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us has a maths 4-year gap between it. So yeah. In my opinion, that 4-year gap is why I said what I said. It makes sense in my later critique of that this book is a fucking cash grab. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just wanted to add that in. This book was 4 years apart from the original, and that makes so much sense because if you're gonna make a sequel to a book, you kind of like maybe after a year or two, you put out a second book. Anyway, It Starts With Us about? We've already got into why I decided to read it, so what is it about? Lily and her ex-husband Ryle have just settled into a civil co-parenting rhythm when she suddenly bumps into her first love, Atlas, again. After nearly 2 years separated, she's elated for once time is on their side and she immediately says yes when Atlas asks her on a date. But her excitement is quickly hampered by the knowledge that though they are no longer married, Ryle is still very much a part of her life. And Atlas Corrigan is the one man he will hate being in his ex-wife and daughter's life. Switching between the perspectives of Lily and Atlas, It Starts With Us picks up right where the epilogue for the gripping, pulse-pounding Sarah Pekkanen, author of Perfect Neighbors best-selling phenomenon It Ends With Us, left off, revealing more about Atlas' past following Lily as she embraces a second chance at true love while never getting a jealous ex-husband. I never rated it. I would rate it a 2 out of 5. A 2 because it was better than Reminders of Him, and Reminders of Him has a lower rating. So it was a 2 out of 5 because at least you can tell, like, I don't know, even though it was it was a cash grab.
We break barriers. We do everything to get rich, we do everything to stay rich, and do everything to stay richer.
You could tell that the book was not that bad. It was just boring as hell. I think you're gonna see in my analysis of the book. And Colleen Hoover does take a lot of criticism from her It Ends With Us, like people criticizing some things about It Ends With Us. And she does take that into account in this book, and you can kind of see if you know It Ends With Us and if you read it. I have been reading, what is it called? It Starts With Us. Right now I can say, why was this book fucking made? It serves no fucking purpose. It's boring. It's meh. It's just like, okay, I guess. Like, I haven't given it a rating because that's not fair. You have to finish a book before you give it a rating. But I already know what I'm gonna rate it. You'll see. But I'm just like, why make this whole fucking book just because your other book blew up and you're like, oh shit, let me capitalize off these characters again and add another story about them. I feel like that's what went through her and her publisher's heads and everybody who was around her. They're like, oh shit, you made a lot of money? Well, girl, you gotta do it again. I'm sorry. Part 2. I'll put the final thoughts obviously when I finish the book. But right now, where I am, the book is really fucking boring. I'm sorry. To me, I just feel like it's just a cash grab. But anyway, we'll see. I'm left with like 10 seconds. I mean, like 15 minutes of this fucking audiobook, but I'm so fucking tired. I'm like, bitch, can this fucking end? Please. It ends with it ends with us, babe. It ends with this book. Hi. I think we've just all come to the conclusion that my videos are always gonna have some background noise. Anyway, I finished It Starts With Us. At the point when the audiobook was ending, I was like, shit, can this shit end, please? Which is not really a good sign for me. I had some notes where they about the book. At some point I stopped taking notes because I really did not care. The book shouldn't have been released. Like, it is like a grade 7 book, like a 13-year-old book for 13-year-olds. 13-year-olds rise up and read these books, but I don't know why the book was released. I feel like, as I said before, Colleen Hoover's agent and her management and her publishers were like, bitch, you better write a second book because this one was so famous, so get on writing the second book. Yeah, in this new book, in the first book, why it was like side-eye was that Ryle was not painted to be the bad guy. He was painted to be a person who is flawed, and that led a lot of people to think he was the victim. Like, a lot of my friends, as I said before, thought that Ryle was the victim of Lily. So I feel like Colleen Hoover took that into consideration, because Ryle in this book fucking sucks. He is the worst person you can imagine. Like, he the abuser level is going up, and him and Lily have this dynamic first in the book where he is like trying to get her back, and she's like, bitch, I don't want to be with you, you are psychotic. And then by the end of the book, when she gets with Atlas, he is like angry, and this whole story, like, I don't even want to explain this book. It's so boring. Like, it is such a boring book. I really wrote on my notes, this book is a whole nothing bagger. Like, it's nothing. Like, this book shouldn't have happened. But anyway, it's like a fanfic of, it's like, let's say you watch a TV show or a movie, right, and you're like, love the couple so much that you start writing a fanfic about how their lives are after the movie has ended. Like, this is what it felt like. I am so shocked that in my head I was like, why is Lily still friends with Alyssa? See, this book is so bad because y'all, I read the first book and Alyssa was a bad friend in the first book, and and Alyssa is Ryle's sister, if you don't know. And in the original book, she sat there and said, oh my gosh, just forgive my brother for beating you, he has issues. But now in this book, she's switching it up, character development, switching it up. No, Colleen Hoover, just because you got that criticism and you wanted to change your character, that doesn't even make sense. Like, her character just changed 180 from supporting her brother to not supporting her brother in like 2 seconds. The sister who literally encouraged her to stay with her abusive brother just because her brother went through trauma when they were younger.
I'm tired of your presence. Dismissed.
And then Colleen Hoover really said, oh, actually Alyssa is a good guy in this book, because Alyssa, she now stands up to Ryle and says, Ryle, you're a bad person. Anyway, I wrote, there's literally, Colleen Hoover is known for her white cis straight characters. So in this book she was like, how do I involve a gay character? Let's make the 12-year-old son of the guy who let's make the 12-year-old son of Atlas's co-worker gay. And that's the gay representation that we need in this book. I have nothing to say about that, but I just thought it was funny because I'm just like, that added nothing to the book, actually. This book is so stupid. Like, guys, this book is giving grade 5 vibes. Like, okay, not grade 5, like 13-year-old, 14-year-old vibes. Like, if I read this book when I was 13, 14, I would have ate this shit up. I would have ate this shit up. Like, because It Ends With Us is a problematic book. Like, I could do a whole video on that one, but I haven't read the book, and honestly I might forget something, so I don't want to misquote the book or whatever. But this one is more on the healthy relationships. So you will kind of like be like, Atlas is such a good guy, oh my gosh, this relationship is so cute. Never in my mind had that crossed. That never crossed my mind, not even once. Atlas is literally the bare minimum of the bare minimum. And also, I don't like the fact that they say that, oh my gosh, Lily lives her life for Emerson. She lives her life for her daughter, Emerson. But truly, this bitch is living her life for Atlas. Like, at this point, just tell us the truth, because we already can see the truth. She is depending on this man. It's like a man had to come into her life for her to become better or something. I don't know, but they want us to see him as like, oh, he's like actually like a good person. I mean, I guess he is, but like he's like the bare minimum of a good person. Like, he's not like standing ovation good person. Like, I don't know. The book was just so like, if Mare was a book, it would be this one. That's why I say that what's girl's name, Colleen Hoover really said, I'm gonna just do a cash grab.
I was never in this for the money, but it turns out that the money was an absolute necessity for me.
And write a book on Atlas's, it's not even about Atlas's life. Let me tell you what the book is about. The book is about Lily and Atlas meeting after the end of the first book, where they meet in town and they're like, oh hey. Then it's a dual POV of Atlas and Lily and their adult lives, and then we get in an introspection, just a tiny bit, on how Atlas ran away. Actually, he was kicked out of his house. How he became homeless in the first book. I don't know if it was explained in the first book, which I don't know because I don't remember. He was kicked out because his mom was abusive, and he had an abusive stepfather who kicked him out and who would like beat him and stuff. And then that's how he ended up living in the next door house as a homeless kid. And then now he has it starts off this storyline, guys. There's a person who is vandalizing his restaurants because Atlas is a restaurateur. He owns restaurants, but you'll never be Carmi. You'll never. I just watched The Bear, and you will never be Carmi. Don't tell me anything about being a restaurateur. Don't tell me anything. They were like, him trying to be a chef. You're not Carmi. Please get out of here. Anyway, what is it called? He like is a restaurateur, and somebody is like vandalizing his restaurant. And then he later finds out that, oh, it's his brother, his half-brother from his stepdad and his mom, who thinks that Atlas abandoned him and abandoned their family, but that actually wasn't the case. So the whole journey with Atlas in this book is that he is he's getting in a relationship with Lily, but also he's becoming a father to his brother who was kicked out of the house. Guys, I don't know. This is literally what I said. Why wasn't this book incorporated in the first book? Some of the parts of this book should have been in the first book, and case closed. The younger brother, or this whole stupid storyline of the younger brother, should have just not been there, and then the whole thing about him being kicked out and all that should have been in the first book, and then it should have ended there. Like, I don't know why it couldn't have been incorporated. Like, the book, it starts with us. Actually, in the other book, it's called It Ends With Us, because it's the cycle of abuse is ending with Lily's daughter by Lily leaving her abusive relationship. Yay, good for her. And then this one, it's called It Starts With Us, because it's starting with Atlas and his little brother being a family. Guys, I don't know what I just read. Like, guys, I don't know. I literally finished the book 2 minutes ago. Like, I cannot tell you what happens. I cannot tell you. Like, this book was so fucking boring. Like, I cannot tell you. Like, you're probably like, Wendy, like, why aren't you giving details? Like, these are the details I'm giving you. Like, it was boring. Like, it was corny, it was cheesy, yes, but like, it was corny and cheesy in the wrong way. Like, it was not corny and cheesy in the good way. And the smut, ooh, could you even call them smut scenes? Girl, somebody get Talia Hibbert on the phone so she can give Colleen Hoover advice on how to write smut scenes. Anyway, let's move from that. There's a smut scene between Atlas and Lily, and then during the smut scene, I know it's supposed to be like realistic mom life, but like, guys, this is, we don't want to envision that. Like, we don't want to envision that. Literally, while he's literally doing whatever he's doing, breast milk starts to come out of her breast. And I know it's probably relatable to all the moms out there, but I'm not a mom. I did not need to know that information. This book is not a romance. Like, I don't know why they're treating it as a romance. This book shouldn't have even been made. Like, I'm sitting here saying it is a romance, yes, but like, in the same sentence, is it? Because most of the things that happen are about Lily, Ryle, and Emerson, their daughter, and Atlas and his stepbrother. I don't even remember the name. And I finished the book 10 minutes ago. Lily, Ryle, and Emerson, their whole drama is that there's this scene, I already put it in, of like, Ryle is angry that Lily named their daughter after Dory, the fucking fish, from Finding Nemo, and Dory, the fucking fish. And he's mad because he's like, why are you naming my daughter after your connection with this homeless guy who used to live in your in a shack across the house? That's literally like what he says. And then she's like, no, I had a connection with that movie before I even met him. Girl, bye. You named her after Atlas. Like, there's a little bit of Atlas in that name. Like, don't lie. But like, also, Ryle doesn't need to be angry about that, because damn, her name is Dory. I would be mad if I was, I don't want to support an abuser, ew, but like, let's say if I was Atlas and I was in the hospital bed and then this bitch just gave birth and she was like, I'm naming you Emerson Dory, I'd be like, Dory, girl, this is like giving, my African side is coming out, because you can't just give your child a name that doesn't make sense. Like, so arrogant of me to be like, you can't just give your child a name that doesn't make sense, like, just because it sounds nice. Like, what does your child mean? Your child is connected to a fish that has permanent brain loss or something in the movie, like, what? But yeah, that's what I thought. Let's get into the second book, which is Reminders of Him, Reminders of You. I don't know. I hope the book is trash. I was expecting garbage. I was expecting ugly love type garbage. Like, every time I watch a video where people are talking about ugly love, it seems entertainingly garbage like, and I wanted that. But in this book I just got boring, this shouldn't even have been made, why is this book even here type beat. But I want garbage.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I want to be sitting there like,
I'm a boy.
No, you're fucking not.
No, really, I'm
I said, no, you're fucking not.
off the garbage I'm reading. I love garbage. There's also a thing of me, but I haven't shown that side on this channel, but I actually love garbage. So I love garbage shows, movies, anything. I can watch anything. Let's get to the Reminders of Him, and let's see. I'm excited to see how truly garbage it gets.
My man, bitch, your man left you for dead, hoe. My man, bitch, your man left you for dead, hoe.
Let's move on to the next book I read. Now, this one is one of Miss Colleen Hoover's. It has Miss Colleen Hoover's heart. Basically, she said that she related with this character. Well, we're about to rip this book to shreds. Like, I'm about to come for this book. So, Reminders of Him. And when I was like working on my last video before my computer deleted all my fucking editing, like all the editing I had fucking done, I thought that Reminders of Him was released in like 2016. So I was like, the batshit craziness of this book is like understandable why it's so actually scarily bad. But no, it was released in 2022. And when I found out this information, I was aghast. I was actually shocked. I was like, 2022. If you told me this book was released in 2013, I'd be like, okay. I can kind of see why you would write a character like this in 2013 if you started writing in 2012. This was a decade after her first book that she ever wrote was like, you know, that she says that she started writing for real in 2012. Yo, let's get into the story. So after serving 5 years in prison for a tragic mistake, Kenna Rowan returns to the town where it all went wrong, hoping to reunite with her 4-year-old daughter. But the bridges Kenna burned are proving impossible to rebuild. You'll see why they're impossible to rebuild. Everyone in her daughter's life is determined to shut Kenna out, no matter how hard she works to prove herself. The only person who hasn't closed the door on her completely is Ledger Ward, a local bar owner and one of the few remaining links to Kenna's daughter. But if anyone were to discover how Ledger is slowly becoming an important part of Kenna's life, both would risk losing the trust of everyone important to them. The two form a connection despite their pressure surrounding them, but as their romance grows, so does the risk. Kenna must find a new way to absolve the mistakes of her past in order to build a future of hope and healing. So if you read that, you're like, oh, so this is about a bitch trying to get with her daughter. No, it's not about that. It's just about Kenna and Ledger's relationship and how Colleen Hoover uses a child as a plot point to get these two people together into a forbidden relationship. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, and this This one, it's giving very much. It's so bad, I would give you a 0, but I can't. So I'll give you a 1.
It is so bad, I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible. So I give you a 1.
To quote Bob the fucking drag queen, Mama, this is garbage.
I'm going to try to be objective. Mama, this is garbage. Mama, this is garbage. Mama, this is garbage.
Mama, this is garbage. And I was so shocked to see that this came out in 2022. Girl, yeah. We're just gonna put in my input. I don't know if I'm gonna put this before or after, but I have a whole reminders of him page about what Miss Colleen Hoover said about this book, because it was actually baffling that she thinks that the most character that she can relate to like the character that her most favorite character or whatever is Kenna Rowan, this bitch from this book, and you will see why that is actually unacceptable to me and crazy. Imagine you're a fucking ghost in 3100 and you come back and you're like, how's the world today? And you see that Colleen Hoover is being taught at your great grandchild's school, like Shakespeare. The way that school will be burning to the ground, I will burn that school the fuck down. I've started reading Reminders of You. I said, oh, give me your best shot, give me your worst, give me your worst. I don't want to know the worst now. I don't want to know the worst. You got me, Colleen. You got me. Yeah, but you got me. If they start teaching Colleen Hoover like they're teaching Jane Austen, Emily Dickinson, Shakespeare, I'm gonna have to come back as a ghost and start haunting people. Bitch, call me Annabelle Part 2. I'll be Annabelle and I will ruin people's lives. I will cause havoc. Miss Hoover, you have to compensate me for my fucking time. Please, this is a crime. Like, when people do something wrong, they need to chained in a basement and they have to listen to reminders of him on loop. That is the best punishment I think that someone can ever get. What's crazy is that this bitch is the main character is, why? I want to leave it for when I'm done with everything, but I can't. Like, these headphones that I've had for 3 years that I've took care of are becoming janky. As soon as I started listening to these audiobooks, I swear, as soon as I started listening to these audiobooks, the headphones started glitching. I don't know what's going on. Guys, it's Colleen Hoover coming from my earphones. Like, guys, like, I love these headphones. I love these headphones to death. Like, they've been with me. Like, have you ever wanted to quit something so bad? Have you ever wanted to quit something so bad? Because I think I'm gonna DNF this book. It's like nothing is happening. She's such a bad writer. Like, I'm sorry, she's not a good writer. She's a writer who babbles on about nothing for long periods of time. And it's just so, it's like, why is this book this long? Like, that's what you're asking yourself. Ugh, like, it's actually like headache inducing. Like, I don't want to be mean, but I'm gonna have to be mean. Like, I don't want to be mean, but this is actually very hard for me right now. I feel like my brain is melting because it starts with us was a boring book, but it wasn't that bad. It was not that bad. It was just like, okay, this is a bad, boring book, but like, I could read this book and finish it. This one, the morals, the ethics, the writing, it's just like everything is bad. So why are we here? Like, the characters. I have a headache caused by this stupid fucking book that doesn't even make sense. Everybody's horrible. I'm on nobody's side. Like, I tried to take sides, but then I was like, do I even care? Do I even care to take sides? I don't give a fuck about any of the characters in this fucking book. Everybody fucking sucks. You're supposed to feel bad for the main character, but again, bitch, you're also kind of a bad person. So I know they're gonna do a little twist, Oliver twist at the end to be like, actually, she's not really a bad person. Fuck that. Colleen Hoover is such a fucking predictable writer. I already know what they're gonna do at the end. And what's worse is that it's boring. Like, it's not even entertaining in a bad way. You know when you're like entertained, but it's bad? No. This is just boring. And Colleen Hoover is so obsessed with men who are just attracted to women. There's this trope that I hate, is when two people are just attracted to each other the minute they meet. Bitch, you don't know this person. Why are you attracted to them? Like, you don't even know what they could be a fucking psycho. Like, what the fuck? You don't even know this person. Imagine explaining your story to your ex-boyfriend's best friend who you killed during a drunk driving, like when you were drunk driving, and then after you read him that letter, he's like, oh, okay, let me make out with you and let's have sex in a car. What was going through Colleen Hoover's head when she wrote this? Like, I can't even fathom. Like, I'm actually shocked. This book is actually shocking. What the fuck?
His finger over me, and then inside of me, and the sensation is so intense I can't even kiss him back. My lips are parted, and I'm moaning in between gasps of air. Ledger keeps his lips rested against mine when he begins to push into me. He isn't able to push into me with ease. It's a slow, almost painful experience. I move my mouth to his shoulder as he makes gentle progress. When he's all the way inside me, I drop my head back to the pillow because the pain transforms into pleasure. He slowly pulls out and then pushes back into me with a little more force. He exhales sharply, and his breath falls over my shoulder, tickling my skin. I lift my hips, opening myself up to him even more, and he shoves into me again. Kenna, I can barely open my eyes and look at him. His lips graze mine, and he whispers, "This is too good. Fuck. Fuck. I have to stop." He pulls out his what the fuck? It's an immediate emptiness I wasn't prepared for. Ledger remains on top of me.
So I'm back again to recap this stupid fucking book, and I'm much more toned down than when I finished it. When I finished it, I was so mad. And I guess you can see my reaction when I'm like after I read it. So now I have taken some medication that is like more of like a sedative, so I'm very calm right now, but we're still gonna talk shit about this badass book. Reminders of him. Reminder to Colleen Hoover to never write a fucking book ever again in her life. I'm sorry, you like Colleen Hoover, you can like Colleen Hoover, but don't ever say that she's a good writer, because that's a lie. That is a lie. Like, dude, like, when I finished that book, I was actually so mad. I actually even went to my sister and I started like, you could literally me explaining, I went fucking apeshit because I was like, is this book fucking real? And it was because of the fucking ending. Now basically this book is about this bitch named Kira? Girl, I've now forgotten her name. Kenna, yeah. And she went to jail for 5 years for leaving her boyfriend to die after they had a car accident while she was drinking and driving, and he was also drunk. And yeah, and then she left him for literally dead. She left him. She saw that, oh, this nigga's not moving, okay, bye. And then she left him for dead. And then she went on the street and she we cannot make this shit up. She started hoping, she went on like a highway and then started hoping that people run her over because she did not want to live without this man. Anyway, the book starts when this bitch comes back into town and she goes into a bar, and the main male lead, his name is Ledger. He was the best friend of the guy who was left for dead, and is immediately drawn to Karen, whatever her fucking name is. And he's like, oh, she's just so different. Like, why is she at this bar? Ooh, she's like so different. And then she comes to this bar, a bar of all places, and orders a, what is it called? She orders tea or coffee at a bar. So she's like different, and he's like immediately drawn to her. And you know, in a Colleen Hoover book, if men are not sexualizing women, then the second they lay eyes on them, is it really a Colleen Hoover book? Exactly. So my thing when I wrote these notes, I was like, what the fuck kind of name is Ledger? The only Ledgers I know is Heath Ledger and a ledger that I had to use in Form 1 and 2 for, which is the first year of high school and the second year of high school for my accounting lessons. So please don't fuck with me. Tell me this guy's name is Ledger. Okay. And Colleen Hoover has this weird thing of naming people weird names. She can't just name a character like Hannah. She has to always just do some stupid shit and name her character some stupid, like, nonsensical name. The kid, so this bitch, when she went to prison, Kenna, she was pregnant, and then now it's 5 years later, so her daughter is living with her grandparents, the parents of the boyfriend she left for dead, Scotty, and the child's name is DM. See, I literally said this before, as an African person, I don't get why you would name your child a name that doesn't make sense. This bitch Kenna is talking to the audience. She admits to us that she kissed a prison guard while she was in prison. And I'm like, hello, Orange is the New Black? Because in Orange is the New Black, one of the prisoners, I think, like in season 1, falls in love with one of the prison guards. And also, I think Colleen Hoover watched Orange is the New Black and she was like, girl, I gotta tell this story. I gotta be the first person to write this story. Like, it has never been written. But then the thing is that she makes the character so dull and the story so fucking, like, stupid. Like, what made me so mad is it's not that the book was nonsensical. It was that it was a fucking waste of my fucking time, and it was stupid. That's what I hated the most of this book. It was that it was so fucking stupid, and it made me, like, I was shaking out of anger that I read a stupid book. There's nothing to offer. Anyway, let's move on. So we learned that this bitch who left her boyfriend for dead, writes to him in PDF form. She just writes letters to him. She's like, Scotty, I'm back in town And I'm here at this bar that used to be a record store or whatever. It used to fucking be a cafe. And I'm here. Okay. And the guy, Ledger, sees her and he's like, I wonder if she, Colleen Hoover writes this nonsense of where she just lets her characters say the most bad shit, crazy stuff. She makes the characters say useless things for no reason, and you're just wondering, like, she just wanted to fill the fucking page. This nigga says, I wonder, like, if she's here because of a divorce. Scratch that. Women who are here for divorces usually aren't sad. They usually, what did he say? He said they usually come here to celebrate and wear sashes when they're getting divorced. Like, I swear, Miss Colleen Hoover, what was making me even viscerally angry when I was reading, like, the audiobook is because she puts nonsense like this. Like, the characters just say stupid stuff and you're just like, why is this here? This shit is just, he's just saying shit. Like, he's not even, like, saying things of substance. He's just saying nonsense. And so Ledger, this man, walks up to this girl who's like mysterious. He walks up to Genna and they like strike a conversation, and she like sits in his lap and it gets like very sexual very fast, and they go to his car and they like have like a sexy moment in his car, a little smutty scene that was very much covering ears. We don't want to fucking listen to this. And she lies to him that her name is Nicole, not Kenna, because she doesn't want him to know that she's a murderer.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And before you even come in my comments, well, she's not really a murderer. She did. If you are in a car accident and you realize that your partner is not fucking moving, and you say, okay, let me run down the fucking street to kill myself. So if you realize that your partner is fucking dead and you run down the fucking street trying to let somebody else kill you, you're like, I'm not gonna kill myself. I am actually gonna put that responsibility on somebody else and ruin somebody else's life. And you don't call the police, you don't call the ambulance. You're a murderer, in my opinion. Like, let's call it what it is. The accident was an accident. Car accidents happen. But going home and then taking a nap or whatever that bitch did, that's the part that's really fucking crazy to me. She just goes home and falls asleep and leaves this nigga to die. And the cops tell her that if you had just called the ambulance, he might have actually survived. Like, why didn't you call the ambulance? That's like my biggest gripe with this fucking bitch, is that she is literally in the wrong in this whole situation about the Scotty, the boyfriend, the accident. But she acts like she's the victim. Like, she acts like she actually is a victim. But like, baby, you kind of killed this dude. Like, no shade, but like, Colleen Hoover's characters constantly think about sex, and they constantly think about having sex with people. Are we even surprised? Like, blah, blah, blah. Boring smart, blah, blah, blah. Predictable plot. Predictable everything. And Kenna is such a horrible fucking person. She's a horrible fucking person, but she acts like she's the victim because she's the main character and we're supposed to like her. Like, I get that she is coming into town to get back with her daughter because her auntie, her daughter, lives with the grandparents, and the grandparents don't want anything to do with Kenna because she killed their son. So she's trying to get with her daughter, but the thing is that she is just a horrible person. Like, I'm sorry, like, you left this guy for dead and you're trying to act like you're the victim. Like, you're not the victim of anything. Actually, you are the villain, in my opinion. And then this night, when she goes to the bar for the first time, they have sex in his car, as I've already said. And what is weird about how she gets with Scotty. Like, you just this bitch is weird. Like, Colleen Hoover is weird for writing this. So the way she gets with Scotty, the initial boyfriend who she left for dead, is that she's working at some fucking store and he comes in and he thinks she's cute. So then he goes and comes up to the till where she's punching, you know, the items, and he comes with a plate and she's like, okay. And then he comes around and comes with another plate, and he keeps on coming with like 5 plates in total. And he was like, I'm just like coming with plates because I just want to have the courage to talk to you. And she's like, I can't date customers. So what he does is that if I return these plates, I guess I'm not a customer anymore and you can go out with me. Is that supposed to be like some meet cute for a girl who killed her boyfriend? Okay. And then what is it called? We find out that before or after, I don't know, he asked her on a date or whatever, wanted to ask her on a date. He had a girlfriend that he literally called up and said, bitch, bye, I'm leaving you. And then he tells Kenna that, oh, like 23 minutes ago, I literally had a girlfriend that I broke up with because of you. But then he explains it to say, oh no, it's because our relationship was not even working out anymore, but we just were staying with each other. Some bullshit fucking reason. Like, and Kenna still believes this. So Kenna is like, this is modern Kenna who's depressed and is like wanting to find her daughter and is out of jail. She writes this poem that says, I have like, I'm sedated. I can feel that I'm like tired and sedated, and I still think this is the funniest shit I've ever read. She says she's writing like poetry because she thinks she's so deep. She's like, she says, I have a daughter I've never held. She has a scent I've never smelled. She has a name I've never yelled. She has a mother who's already failed. And this Kenna bitch is so surprised that Black and Hispanic people exist. Let me tell you. So when she like goes to the grocery store, she finds out that the grocery store hires Black and Latino people, and she's like, I just feel so comfortable because like they hire Black and Latino.
Oh yeah.
Like, she literally says that. Like, that is not a joke. And Colleen Hoover has this problem of like having white cishet able-bodied people in her books. So she introduces a character who has Down syndrome, and the character has like a proper name, but she calls herself Lady Diana, and basically she acts like a fucking child in this whole book. Like, she doesn't act like an actual human being, and that is Colleen Hoover's representation of the Down syndrome community. Okay, so let's get into what this book is actually about. So Miss what's her name? Miss Kenna comes into town to look for her daughter, and then Ledger finds out that no, this is the Kenna that killed Scotty. So he's like, what the fuck, dude? But because she's hot, he's like, actually, I'm gonna give you a second chance. So this dude lets her work at his bar. He gives her a ride. He's always with her. Like, it's really inappropriate. And he is doing this behind the back of the grandparents of DM. And he knows that the grandparents of DM don't like her because she literally killed their son. And you're probably like, Wendy, like, she didn't kill their son, it was an accident. No, she did. Because how are you about to be in a car accident and instead of calling the police like a normal human being with 2 brain cells, you're just gonna be like, okay, bye. What's crazy is that Kenna thinks she has it the worst. She thinks she has it the fucking worst of all, of every human being. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up. You killed someone. You killed someone. And Colleen Hoover wants to write these morally gray characters who like kind of do bad stuff, but like we still must like them as the audience, like, because they're the protagonists. But she's fucking sucks at writing, so it doesn't come out well. Her morally good characters come out as being villains. Kenna is a villain. And what's so crazy, guys, is that so Kenna and Ledger are like having this fling where they are like drawn to each other and they're like literally making out. They're literally having like almost sex. They're having sex. Ledger, this is literally the girl who killed your best friend. Like, that's what I'm here thinking when I'm like hearing these fucking scenes. And I'm just like, dude, like, have some respect for your friend. Like, dude, really? Ugh. And then Kenna, what was I even going to say? She like writes in these diaries, writing these letters to Scotty. She writes letters to Scotty. And so one night Ledger's like, have you ever written a letter about the night that you know, the whole accident went down? And she's like, yes. And then he's like, I want you to read it to me. Girl, this made me be like, this bitch is a fucking psychopath if she thinks that she's not in the wrong for living this nigga. Anyway, let's get into it. So she says that in the story, what happened that night is that Scotty and her went to a frat house party, and then they drink, they had a good time, and then they got in the car drunk, and they were drunk driving, and they drove to this lake, and then at the lake they made out, and then they had like a good time at the lake. And then when they were leaving the lake, they were like, let's go buy like some ice cream or some stupid thing like that. And then that's when she got in the car to drive. And she even says it in the letter that when she was looking down at the gearbox, you know, the one, I don't know what Americans call it or whatever, where there's drive, reverse, park, all that, she literally couldn't even, she was so like in a fucking daze that she couldn't even see the fucking gears. And she still drove that bitch. And then she says that they were driving and they were both high and then they were both drunk, and then she hits the brakes for some reason hard, and then the car starts rolling, and she sees Scotty, her boyfriend. And you know what she thinks initially when the car rolls and then she realizes like we're in an accident? She thinks, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna be so mad at me that I wrecked his car. That's what she thinks. And then she looks at Scotty, and then his arm, she says, it's not funny, but like the image of an arm just hanging is so funny to me. She sees his arm hanging, and then she's like, Scotty, and then she sees like blood. So she sees that this nigga's arm is not moving and he's like not responsive. And instead of calling the ambulance and the police, this bitch runs into the fucking road and tries to kill herself. And then she gets home and like she has a concussion, and then she falls asleep. And then she wakes up in the next morning. The police are like, knock knock, bitch. And they're like, if you only called the police and the ambulance when that accident happened, Scotty might have survived. And then they take her to jail. That's literally what the note says. And Ledger is like, all this time I've been putting my anger on you. Wouldn't you be more angry? I don't know. You would really be like, bitch, you really did leave him for dead because you just took off without even calling the ambulance. Like, what is wrong with you? And then right after he reads the letter about his best friend dying a gruesome death of being left to bleed out in a car crash by his girlfriend, he says, I've been totally wrong about you this whole time. I can't believe how wrong I was about you. And then they have sex. Sorry, I had to crack my neck. So, and then he starts dating her. He's just dating her, knowing full well, like, even the bro code, like, why would you date, removing that she killed the best friend, why would you date your best friend's ex-girlfriend? Worse, the ex-girlfriend who caused his death. And then he's like, he goes up to the grandparents who want nothing to do with DM. Who have wanted nothing to do with Kenna and are keeping DM, her daughter, from her life. I don't agree with that, but then again, I don't fucking care. Like, at some point I was like on the side of Kenna, and then I was on the side of the parents. Then I realized that this book is a pile of fucking garbage. It's a pile of it's a heap of fucking dog shit. So I was like, I don't care anymore. So they like, I don't trust Kenna. And do you know what what's this guy's name? What Ledger does, he goes up to them with Kenna's letter, that one where she's explaining that they went to a frat party and all that, and then the grandparents just forgive her for no reason. And I was like, why would you forgive it? What, wouldn't you be more angry that you left? She literally left her son for dead hold. Like, he left you for dead hold. She literally did leave him. Like, what the cops said in their statement, why she went to jail, is because she did that. She did what you guys thought she did. So why are you forgiving it now that Scotty has come? What's this guy's name? Ledger has come with a book. With the letter from her perspective. And also, they treat this DM bitch, the little kid, like she's some fucking scientist. Like, she's a fucking rocket scientist. That she's so fucking smart. Like, she's the smartest kid who's ever lived. Like this. Do 5-year-olds say these things? Like, the things that this 5-year-old says in this fucking book is like, I have never heard a 5-year-old say that. Let's not even get into that. And what's crazy is that so they forgive Kenna when they could have just forgiven her a long time ago, because it's literally the story that she's been saying from day one of how she literally left him to die. They forgive her, so this whole book had no reason to even exist. They forgive her, and then they let her into DM's life. And then the end of the book, I swear that the end of the book is that they go to the site where the car rolled, where Scotty died, and they take DM there, and they give DM a cross so that she sticks it in the ground where her dad was left to die. I swear that's how the book ends. I swear. And then they all get into Ledger's car, and then they listen to some fun little music, and then they drive away. And then what's worse is that when DM is at this fucking gravesite, might as well be a fucking gravesite, she says to Kenna, oh my gosh, I hope you get pregnant, something like that. there was a part in the book that I completely forgot to talk about, but like literally made so much sense. Literally has to be talked about, where it's later in the book after like Kenna has been forgiven and all that, and this was his dude's name. Ledger says, when DM was born, I read a lot of feminist books, and they say that we shouldn't compliment women on their looks. So I haven't told you all this time that you were pretty, and I always compliment DM on her intelligence. But I just want to let you know, Kenna, that you're really pretty.
What is this? What did you put?
What else happened that was crazy? Kenna is just a bad person. In the book, you just realize at the end of the book, if the parents were just gonna forgive her for telling the exact same story that the cop said, why did the book even exist? Why did you write this book if literally the parents were just gonna forgive her, and they were gonna forgive her in 2 fucking seconds after talking to her, and they were just going to forgive her for telling the original story that is literally what she told in court. The Reminders of Him is a book where they try to act like the villain is actually the victim when she's not, and I hate the book, and I really hate that book, and it took me, I was strong enough to finish that book. It took some strength from me, and I'm proud of myself that I finished that garbage book. Anyway, let's send it back to me in the future. So I don't know if this is coming out before you've seen my reaction and my analysis and my whole rant about the book, or after. So let's just get into what Colleen Hoover, Miss Colleen, said about Reminders of Him. Colleen describes this book as a sad book, and she describes Kenna is drunk driving and killing her boyfriend and leaving her boyfriend for dead as a mistake. That's what she thinks. And this is my case of when Colleen Hoover tries to write these flawed characters that she loves to write, and playing devil's advocate when it gets out of hand. It's like this is not the same. But you know, in every history class, when you're learning about a controversial topic, there's always that person who's like, but like, was that person that bad? You know, and you're like learning about Stalin, like, you know. She wrote the book in 2020 and it was released in 2022, so it takes a while to write the book. And when she first sought out to write Reminders of Him, it was going to be like a rom-com, but like 2020 was like drab and like so dark, and everybody was having a horrible time, including me. 15-year-old me was having a horrible time in 2020. Oh my gosh, shout out to 2020 for being one of the worst years of my life. Hello. Hello. And then she wanted it to be a rom-com at first, but like she didn't really want to feel like writing a rom-com. And then in this interview, she talks about how the interviewer says, "Oh my gosh, how do you make your flawed characters likable?" And then Colleen is like, "Oh my gosh, you think my flawed characters are likable? Girl, don't say that, because they're not. Please, Kenna Rowan is not likable. Please. Stop saying things like that. And tell her the fucking truth." Yeah, she just likes writing flawed characters, and she describes Kenna's accident that day as as an awful day. Like when someone has a bad day and then you make a bad decision, then that ruins your whole entire life. I've never met someone who ruins their whole life by drunk driving and then killing someone and then just running away. And then that's an awful day. But yeah. Miss Colleen, what do you mean about that? That's just an awful day. reflect, Colleen, on that statement. Anyway, let's get into my next segment. Oh my gosh, this video is gonna be so long. Have you ever watched those shows where all the main cast are just bad people, but then you're low-key rooting for them in some way? Yeah, Colleen Hoover could never do that. She would never do that. And that's because of one, characterization. You have to build the characters in a type of way that makes the audience want to root for them even though they're bad people. Things like that. Colleen Hoover doesn't know how to characterize her character. She doesn't know how to do that. And then she wants to write these ambitious, flawed characters, but she can't give them personality traits. She can't make us empathize with them. You can't empathize. What Clockwork Reader said, I'm just taking her criticism and just because that's what mine is also close to. You can't sympathize with a YN. You can't sympathize with a slot, where anybody can just insert themselves into the story. You can't sympathize with that. You have to give them characteristics, traits that make them different, flaws, and also good personality traits. I think she also forgets to do that a lot with her male characters. She wants to give them the good part, and then yeah, I think she's good at thinking of situations that are kind of, yes, cliche, but out of the box. All these books that she's written are different in premise but are the same because she doesn't know how to characterize her characters. She's really poor at that, and I feel like she should work on that. And I feel like maybe in a couple years she could write a book that is actually, not that bad. But for you writing reminders of him, this is my fucking gavel. Jail, Colleen, for that.
What's going on? Y'all are going to jail. Period.
Yeah, this is the video. This is my video on Colleen Hoover. Will I ever read another Colleen Hoover book again? No. Because I don't like her writing style also. And I feel like that also has something to do. I don't like this Wattpadian I don't know. There's a genre of romance writing that is like Wattpadian. All I know is that I will see you in the next one. The next video. I don't know what the next video is gonna be. That's what's so scary. I have all these videos lined up. But I will be uploading very frequently than I used to. I never used to upload. Literally on my channel, you'll see videos that are 3 months apart, a year apart. But now I feel like I'll be more consistent because I have no life outside of YouTube. So, yay! Bye. Oh, subscribe, like the video, comment, and watch my last video, which is about the inevitable failure of Gossip Girl 2021 and why I think the show was never going to work out. Thank you for all the love on my other videos. And thank you for all the new subscribers. Hey, I see you. I see you. You think I don't see you? I see you. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if you want to see more videos from me, subscribe. And yeah, I love you. Thank you so much. Bye.